Hey, what's going on, beautiful people? Listen, right now I want to share the second set of steps that you need to have for home buying success. Listen, home buying success is not a fluke. It's not by happenstance. You have to be locked in these 10 areas and really do them well for you to ultimately get a house that you love, because we don't want to have buyer's remorse, right? And then also be able to manage and maintain that home once you get it. So without further ado, let's go. So last time we was talking about, the last part was find a home. Now we got to make an offer, guys. We got to make an offer. Now, as far as offers go, I'm always going to go and draw from when my wife and I bought our first home. So back then, 2020, we still was able to like make an offer, and it wasn't like above the listing. We made an offer for the listing price though, because we knew times were changing and we didn't want to play with it. So that's what I'm going to talk about here. Like, if you really love the home, don't try to come in like with a lowball offer, because it really makes the seller feel disrespected and not even take you seriously going forward. So always try to come in with a strong offer. Number two, this is very important. Home inspection. Like, okay, so now that you've locked in the offer, you gave your realtor the earnest money to hold on to the property, to show the seller that you're serious about buying it. Now you got to get the house inspected. Now, a lot of times realtors will have their inspectors that they usually deal with, but I found that to be counterproductive a lot of times, because inspectors sometimes will work with realtors just to get the house inspected without any issues found that will make the deal fall through, right? They want to make sure this sale happens, because in the past, they was locking in 6% rates. But these days, they saying that times have changed and everything's negotiable going forward. But in the past, they was locking in those 6% rates. So a lot of times those inspectors wouldn't pull up or happen to find nothing that was too dramatic that would maybe make the deal fall through. But sometimes, as in our case, we found things that happened a year after we bought the house that should have been caught in the inspection. So I always say, find your own inspector. Do your due diligence on your own, and don't rely on your realtor for the inspector. Number three. So listen, next you're gonna have to get an appraisal, right? Like the appraisal process is a very interesting process, because number one, you pay for the appraisal. So that's extra money. You gotta have extra money. Besides the down payment, you have to have extra money to go through this home buying process. So the appraisals, I know, used to be like $300 or something like that. Inspector, you gotta pay the inspector, you gotta pay the appraiser. They see if the house is really worth whatever it said it is. So whatever the seller is trying to get for it, the appraiser will say yay or nay, so that the bank can say, okay, we're going to give the loan based on what the appraiser said the house is worth. So you want the house to appraise, the sellers want the house to appraise for sure. And as a buyer, you sometimes, like for us, I remember we our first house, we hoped it didn't appraise, and it didn't. So they had to bring the price down. But a lot of times, and since the pandemic, they're not bringing the price down. They're saying, hey, buyer, you're going to have to come out of your pocket for the difference, because the bank is only going to give you a loan based on what the house appraises for. Number four, so closing costs, right? This is very important. So a lot of people don't realize that there will be a closing cost when you are like buying the home at the end. A lot of times, and you got to come up with that money. It could be, they can take it out of what a lot of realtors do, just deduct that number out of what they was willing to put down on a home, or the sellers would deduct that number out of what the home was selling for. So if they could deduct the closing costs out of what the house was selling for, then it would make the difference. But a lot of times these days, nobody's doing those things, because like I said, they're getting over and asking. So they're not even doing that. So when you pay in closing costs, it could be, is really based on how much the house costs. All right, number 5. Now it's time to move in. Hey, listen, I got so much to say about moving in. We had such an experience with moving from one home to another with a company. That be careful with these moving companies, because they would charge you one rate. They'll say, let's come see your home, and they'll say, oh, this is the price based on what you got here. But then when it's time to start taking your stuff, they might bring a truck that's not big enough, and they say, oh, to rent a bigger truck, it's going to be this rate. Or they might charge you based on the time, and they just go over the time. So, and one time for the last time, we really had to call the Better Business Bureau on the moving company and let them know we didn't get treated right, and they actually end up reimbursing a part of the money back to us, because we realized like a lot of those moving companies play a game when it comes to moving you out of your home. When you're moving into your house, as you go through that final walkthrough with your realtor, make sure you check everything. Make sure that they left the house in good standings for you and your family. So that because if it's not right, you can bring it up right at closing. Like, no, the carpet is dirty, whatever. Like, you can bring it up, and they will have to rectify that problem. So just make sure the house is in good standings as you do your final walkthrough, and you'll be good to go. Hey, listen, like, love, share it, tell a friend to tell a friend. If this was helpful, let me know. Leave it in the comments. If there's other things that you want to know, if you want to know like what you should know about what's a good realtor or a bad realtor versus a bad realtor, or like things you need to know as far as maintaining a home, come back to this page. We're going to be covering it all so you guys can win in home ownership. Let's go.